Okay guys, here we are at the end of turn 3. The two neutral ships have passed each other. They're starting to clear the central battle area a little bit. In fact, both sides have started to use the neutral ships as a bit of cover, human shields if you will. Because again, you're not allowed to fire a torpedo, missile, or gun that tracks to within 6 inches of an enemy of a neutral ship. So this heavily damaged Chinese frigate is using the Indonesian tanker as cover. This other heavily damaged Chinese frigate is getting out of here. The other idea was for the Emerald Trident, the British espionage ship, to try to use the Malaysian tanker as like cover to get out of there. True enough, I can't shoot at her. However, the other Chinese espionage ship, Zhengjia, was able to kind of swoop in there. I'm not shooting weapons, torpedoes, missiles, or anything else like that. I have managed to get to base-to-base contact with her and starting the boarding process. And ironically, now that we're both within the diplomatic exclusion zone, so to speak, created by the Malaysian tanker, I can now board and not have to worry about getting shot at by the British warships. So I think I may actually capture the RMS Trident. I'm pretty sure there's almost nothing that can happen that would prevent that at this point. The rest of the news is not so good for the Chinese. Those 4 F-35s have arrived, launched off of HMS Queen Elizabeth. My 2 Chinese frigates did manage to shoot one down. Luckily, it used up a lot of my air defense, which means that when those F-35s then launched missiles back at me, and also the Kent launched missiles back at me, and the HMS Dragon launched missiles back at me. Lo and behold, something finally did hit. Actually, I took 2 missile hits. One of them just didn't do any significant damage. The other one did break the back of one of my 2 big Chinese destroyers. PLN Lhasa has now been effectively mission cut. So I'm down to, out of a fleet of 5 ships, I'm really down to just 2 now. So I guess what I'm saying is, and Damon, correct me if you disagree, I think the British are going to win on the warships. The Chinese might wind up winning on mission. You've crippled 2 frigates, a destroyer, and an espionage ship. I've only crippled 1 frigate, and I've lightly damaged your destroyer. Anything to add to that, Mr. Damon?
Yeah, I've done plenty of damage, but you've shot an F-35 down as well, which is an expensive thing. So I'm doing plenty of damage, but I think if I can come up with something to stop you actually boarding, that's the only thing I can try and pull something out of it. I'm not sure if I can. Got an idea, but it's a bit daft.
Cool. If there's something else, we're going to go ahead and start off on turn 4 and see where we wind up at the end of the turn. Okay guys, here we are midway through turn 4, and the Chinese aircraft have finally arrived, and the remaining 3 F-35s have engaged in a dogfight. What we're trying to do is see how many of my Chinese J-15s are going to survive unmolested before they can actually start launching missiles at these remaining ships. Meanwhile, down here to the south, just to wrap things up super fast, we do have a boarding and a counterboard maneuver, because Naval Command does have rules for piracy and how to board ships. So obviously these numbers are for pirates trying to board naval vessels. Needless to say, that's nearly impossible. I want to see a boatload of Somali pirates try to board an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. It's not going to happen. However, these are Chinese Marines who are pretty elite, and even more so, Royal Marine Commandos boarding a ship controlled by Chinese Marines. So long story short, we had a firefight on one of these ships. I did manage to successfully board the Emerald Trident. However, in that same turn, I was then counterboarded by the limping Iron Duke, who still moves at half speed because she is heavily damaged. She's not firing any weapons, so we're not breaking any rules. So across these 3 ships, we basically had a firefight. I successfully boarded the Emerald Trident. However, then the Iron Dukes, Royal Marines, boarded the Zhengjia and the Emerald Trident, and basically won that firefight using these tables down here. And therefore, hey, turns out he did actually manage to stop the upload of incriminating electronic espionage data that Emerald Trident was gathering on the Chinese Navy. However, it also means that we are now weapons-free on HMS Iron Duke and HMS Emerald Trident. But before we can even get into that, I have to see how many of these J-15s survive the interception by the F-35s. Now, the way that Naval Command does dogfights is a little abstract. Basically, there are 3 pairs, so there's going to be 3 possible engagements. So we have 2 F-35s against these 2 J-15s, these 2 J-15s against this 1 F-35. The problem with putting 1 against each each pair. Number one, that's not realistic. Fighters tend to stick together in pairs, and I think this game does a pretty good job at showing why. Okay, we're going to have a dogfight here between these two pair, so a total of 4 aircraft. Each side rolls a d10 for each aircraft in the mix. And you add a dogfight modifier. Of course, the J-15 is not as good as the F-35. And what you're going to wind up with, whoever gets the highest number wins the dogfight. So even though the F-35 is a better aircraft, if you split them up too much, I rolled 2 d10s versus his 1 d10. Now, he gets a bonus on his d10, because his F-35 is better than my J-15s. But the odds of him losing that roll are not insignificant. Here, he's got 2 versus 2. He's probably going to win that roll. Here, he's got 1 versus 2. That's not ideal. It would be nice if he had his other F-35, but he lost one to surface-to-air missile fire last turn. So, first of all, Mr. Damon, let's do this one here. I'm going to go ahead and roll my 2 J-15s. They get a +3 dogfight modifier. You're going to roll your 2 F-35s. They have a +4 dogfight modifier. And we're going to go ahead and try that out. So here come... I got a 7 and an 8. My highest roll is thus an 11.
Double 3.
I win the dogfight. Now for each aircraft I roll to see if I shot down an F-35. The defense on an F-35 is 12. I get to add 3 to the result. So I basically have to roll a 9 up to actually shoot down a J-35. It's tough to shoot down J-35s. A 1 and a 6. I won the dogfight. No one shot down though. These guys were in a dogfight. They therefore did not get to launch missiles. Let's move on to this next one. I have 2 J-15s versus your F-35.
5.
10. I'm sorry. 9 becomes a 12. I won that dogfight as well. Okay, so the problem is, do I shoot down any aircraft? 9. Again, I have to roll a 9 up on 2 D10s. I did shoot down 1 F-35. Yeah, that's just numbers combined with bad luck. You outnumber him 2-1, and I'm just getting good die rolls. Okay, so all these J-15s are accounted for, and what we're going to do next is see if these 2 J-15s can launch their strikes. I'm going to try to sink somebody. Okay, so I'm firing both of my missiles onto the Iron Duke. Because of previous damage, his electronic warfare is only a 3. I'm pretty much automatic to hit. It's just whether or not air defense can do something about it. But just to go through the formalities. Okay, both missiles have locked on, and they're going to hit the Iron Duke. The Iron Duke herself, because of the heavy damage, only has literally 50 cals to defend herself with. You have to beat at 10. You get to add 1 to the result. Can you roll a 9 up on a d10?
I got an 8.
Oh, almost. He almost shot it down. Alright, so that is an air defense token on the Iron Duke. Okay, no worries. However, you do have these 2 ships, which obviously are within 12 inches, and they have a clear, line of sight on the incoming missile tracks. So no worries there.
Kent will fire.
That's a total of +5, because it's a new turn. +5, and you have to beat an 11, so you got to beat a 6 up. Sorry, you got to beat a 10, so you got to be at a 5 up.
That's 2 dice, isn't it? Oh, was the 50 cal roll 2 dice as well, or just 1?
Technically, you're right. The 50 cal would have rolled 2 dice. Sorry about that.
So this is the second 50 cal shot. That was a 4, so nothing.
Okay.
So the 2 shots from Kent, an 8 and a 9.
All right, they're both shot down. Ooh, nice. All right, cool. So that concludes the air phase. A little frustrating for me, but that's okay. I did shoot down an F-35, and I do get victory points for that. All right, we'll see what happens during the rest of turn 4. Super fast one here, guys. We're now at the end of turn 4, and we're starting to pile on the light damage. The British are starting to run out of missiles. Things continue to close as far as the range goes. The only real update here is that I have finally sunk my first ship. HMS Iron Duke has finally rolled over and succumbed to her injuries. We now have a sunken ship, along with all the damaged ships that are all over the place. So that's going to wrap up turn 4, and we're going to see what's going on in turn 5. All right, everybody, here we are at the end of turn 5. The game is designed to run 6 turns, but honestly, A lot of ships are about to break off the engagement by moving off of the southern edge of the table. The damaged ships are about to head off the northern edge of the table, or at least some of them are. All aircraft have now expended their ordnance. So, yeah, we're pretty much at the end of the game. But we're both agreeing to call it at this point, and we have our final results here. So, the UK has been able to score heavy damage on 4 Chinese ships. That's 2 points apiece. And then they scored light damage on the remaining Chinese destroyer, Dailan. That is going to be a total of 9 points. So 4 times 2 equals 8, and then 1 makes 9. All right, the Chinese were able to actually sink 1 British ship. That's the frigate Iron Duke. I do have 2 light damages here on HMS Dragon, on HMS Kent. Again, this light damage was part of the scenario. It does not count for victory conditions, obviously. That 1 sinking is worth 5. Heavy damage, I have nothing with heavy damage. Each UK ship with light damage is 1 point, so that's a total of 7. And then I was able to shoot down 2 F-35s of the Royal Navy, 2 points apiece. Makes a total of 11 points. Again, 5 plus 2 plus 4 is my 11 points. Yeah, I can't say that I did anything particularly brilliant in this. Damon's dice were just on my side. Although he did get a couple lucky 10s on his damage checks. He pretty much crippled one of my frigates with, what was that, a 5-inch gunshot to the bridge?
Yeah, it was the 5-inch gun. Yeah, was it the frigate or was it the spy ship?
So yeah, the Chinese Navy has definitely taken its lumps in this one, although I am going to survive with all my ships. 1 British ship is literally never making it home, and again, 2 F-35s have been lost. The one thing that really kind of kept this from turning into a rout was Damon did manage to counterboard the Royal Marines, kind of save a little bit of face on this one. Managed to counterboard and reboard and save the Emerald Trident. So again, the Emerald Trident, if I captured the Emerald Trident, that would have been another 5 points. And the score would have been 16-9. That's a lot different than 11-9. But nevertheless, the HMS Emerald Trident is still afloat. She's still in British hands. The Chinese never got a hold of that intelligence. We just managed to squeak out a little bit of a collateral victory. We just basically got some luckier die rolls, especially in the air battle. J-15s really shouldn't be able to beat F-35s, even when outnumbered 2 or 3 to 1. Nevertheless, that's pretty much where we wound up, everybody. Damon, any comments? Was this your first time in Naval Command?
Yes, first time. I've watched a couple of the games you've run online. First time playing myself. It's quite good fun. I like it.
It captures sort of the spirit of Harpoon without diving into the, no pun intended, and diving into the Marianas Trench that is the Harpoon rule system. And it's very ambitious. It does piracy operations, littoral operations, air combat. One thing we haven't done yet in this game is submarines. It does all this stuff. It's naval warfare and wargaming, I feel, is not a genre. I think it's a whole series of genres. So, yeah, it's a great system. I don't know how version 2 or 2nd edition plays. The 1st edition plays fine. You just need to take a look at the ship stats, and once in a while you'll have to make a little bit of a determination of what he means exactly in the rules. But it's not a big deal. I'm not trying to talk bad about the game. And again, this is 1st edition. So 2nd edition, for all I know, has already cleaned up all that other stuff. But for now, Damon, do you have any last comments or questions before we wrap up the show?
No, I'm good. It was a good game. Thank you, mate. Thanks for running it again.
No worries at all. It was a good game. It came within 2 points. That's not bad for your first try. But for now, this is Oriskany Jim. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks very much, everybody. Please make sure to like and subscribe, especially like, everybody. Seriously, if you're already subscribed, please drop a like on this stuff. It helps the YouTube algorithm know that people actually interact and look at our content. It helps us out a lot. And that means that YouTube is going to show and share our video with more people, and it helps us grow our community. But for now, everyone, we're taking off. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks again, Damon. Great game. But for now, we're taking off, and we'll be in touch with everybody very soon. So long, everyone.